The MSN-04 Sazabi, one of the most iconic classic mobile suits, first premiering in the 1988 movie Char's Counterattack, manufactured by Anaheim Electronics and designed specifically for Char Aznable. This mobile suit was designed with new types in mind, and it was the first mobile suit to ever feature a psycho-frame cockpit. The Sazabi stands at 25.6 meters tall, making it larger than most standard mobile suits. But thanks to lightweight armor and a large amount of thrusters, the Sazabi remains a very high mobility mobile suit. These things combined with the Sazabi's powerful arsenal, which includes 6 funnels, a scattering megaparticle cannon, and a beam shot rifle, make this thing an absolute beast on the battlefield. But the question is, does it hold up in model form? Short answer? Yes. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, YouSeeGundam. Today we're going to be taking a look at the out-of-box master grade for Ka Sazabi. Now before we get into the video, I just wanted to say a couple things. I'm sorry that the video took so long to come out. I believe it was about 2 weeks in the making. It actually took me a week just to snap the Sazabi together because I work so much. I've been very busy with work and I've had little time to put the model kit together and even less time to film and edit this video. Now on top of that, I'd like to also add, if this review seems at all kind of unstructured or anything, it probably is just a little bit. Like I said in my last video, I'm very new to this, so right now I'm kind of in the process of trial and error. I've actually reshot this review about 4 times. That's a partial bit of why it's taken so long. I just really haven't been happy with the results that I've been putting out, but I think I found a structure that I like, at least for now. I'm just kind of throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. I'm going to be playing around with angles, shot composition, lighting, and definitely backgrounds in the future. I'm not really happy with the background in this video, but I couldn't bring myself to reshoot it a 5th time, so here we are. So with that being said, let's get right into it with my first impressions of this kit. So here is the master grade Sazabi out of the box, no panel lining, no decals, only a couple color correcting stickers on the abdomen and some other areas like the shoulders and the feet, but there was only about 6 of those, and they really aren't that significant. They just provide an extra little bit of color separation. As far as aesthetics go, this thing is on point. It definitely captures the look of the original Sazabi, and it does it more than justice. And true to the original in-universe Sazabi, this thing is definitely larger than most master grades, most things in your 1/100th scale. It will definitely dwarf most, if not all, of your master grades. And if you know anything about me, you know that I do like larger display pieces, so the fact that this is almost the size of a perfect grade 1/60th scale gunpla, you know it's already won a bit of a place in my heart. Overall, I'm getting a really great first impression from this kit. The aesthetics are on point, and it just looks hulking and monolithic. It's great. However, it's not without its flaws. There's a few problems under the hood, but we will talk about that later. As for right now, I'm going to toss a full 360-degree view of the kit up on screen so you guys can see it from all angles, and then we'll move on to the next segment. So the first thing I'd like to take a look at is a size comparison. Here is the Sazabi next to a perfect grade red frame Astray. And here's the Sazabi next to the Reborn 100th Yagadoga. And let's throw in a high grade RX-0 Unicorn Gundam right in the front there. Here's a bit of a better angle so you can see the heights more accurately. Moving on from that, let's talk about the accessories. What you see here is the Sazabi for Ka and everything that it comes with out of the box. Now there are actually 2 of each of these beam effects that come in the box, but I only snapped 1 set off the runners, the other set is still in the box. Taking a closer look, we see the Sazabi's shield. Down here we have a 1/100th scale figure of pilot Char Aznable, the beam shot rifle, and the long rifle. There are also 2 beam saber handles. Those are currently mounted within his wrists. I don't really know how to get them out. I stuck them in there, and I'll be honest with you, I think they're kind of stuck there for now. So let's take a closer look at each of these accessories. So up first we have the Sazabi shield. Now this thing on its own is pretty huge. Here is a full 360-degree view before we take a closer look. Upon closer inspection of the Sazabi shield, we can see on the front face here, there is no insignia where there would normally be one. That's because that's a water slide decal, and I have not applied any of the decals yet. I plan on doing that later, but I haven't had time to so far. Flipping it around to the back, we can see the storage space for the beam tomahawks. Right here you can see the mounting clip that attaches the shield to either of his arms, and it has 2 points of articulation, a swivel right here, and it pivots at the top, as you can see me doing right here. Moving on to the long rifle, this thing sure does live up to its name because, well, it's long. As for articulation, we've got one little bit right here that opens and closes, and on the back here we have an adjustable collapsible stock. It's able to move in and out freely and swivel side to side. Now if we take a closer look at the handle, we can see that there is a little peg that can be flipped out to allow the Sazabi's hands to grip it better. Moving on to the beam shot rifle, you can see there's a point of articulation right here under the barrel where you can rack the slide back and forth. The beam shot rifle also features a removable magazine as seen right here, and after putting this back in, if we move back to the handle and trigger area, the handle has a little bit of articulation right here, being able to rock back and forth. The handle here of the beam shot rifle also features the same little pop-out tab that the long rifle does, which allows for a better, more sturdy grip in the hands. This is actually also present in any of the other accessories that are made to be held in the Sazabi's hands. So now let's talk real quick about the funnels. The Sazabi comes with 6 individual funnels that are all identical to each other. They're stored within the 2 pods on his backpack, 3 on each side. These funnels are actually the exact same funnels that are used in the Reborn 100th Yagdoga kit. And that means that just like the Yagdoga's funnels, when you push them in on the bottom, the little bit of engineering in there allows the fins to expand into a more dynamic looking flight mode shown here. There's really not much else to say about the funnels, although I really would have liked to have seen something like we got with the Reborn 100th Yagdoga kit, which was the plastic tubing that was posable and allowed you to pose the funnels mid-flight. Other than that though, there's really not much to say about these things. They're very tedious to build, but I think it's a decent little payoff. The last thing to talk about as far as accessories go would be the beam tomahawks. Now, they can be combined as shown here into one weapon, but they can also be separated and held individually, one in each hand. You could also connect them from the ends to form a much longer type of weapon with a beam effect on each opposite end. Here's what the beam tomahawk looks like with the larger beam effect, and here is what it looks like with the smaller beam effect. I personally think the beam tomahawks are really cool, and when I start posing him dynamically onto my shelf for display, I'm definitely going to take them off the back of the shield and put them in his hands to have those giant bright green plastic parts up on display. But for now, they're going to stay on the back of the shield, and in order to store them on the back of the shield, all you have to do is lift up this little arm connector, slide them in, and then slide the arm connector just right back down over them, just like this. Overall, I think the accessories are pretty good. They're basically everything you'd expect from a Sazabi kit. So let's move on to the articulation. So for me, the articulation on this kit is really where the kit as a whole kind of falls apart. It really isn't the worst, but there are a couple pitfalls here and there that I noticed when trying to film this and when trying to pose it in general. So I'll go into those in a bit more detail right now. Right here we have the Sazabi head side to side, up and down, and really there is no forward or back movement for the head. Moving on to the shoulder, we can see that the shoulder moves up and down, and this little thruster panel down here can move up and down as well. A double joint in the shoulder allows the arms to come forward and reach across the chest a bit more. Here is the full range of motion of the front skirting. You can see the rotation right there. Side skirting side to side. Rear skirt up and down movement. A bit of movement here on the fuel tanks. The funnel pods can move around a bit. Thrusters on the back that move up and down slightly. Moving on to the arms, we have a double jointed full bend right here at the elbow. You can see right in there the beam saber that I was talking about earlier that's mounted and stuck in his wrist currently. Now the hands, let's talk about the hands real quick because they're very nice, but they also have some problems. So the fingers are individually posable and I really see nothing wrong with them. They grip fine, the fingers pose fine, but it really falls apart at the wrist joint, which is very unstable. The hands will fall out a lot on you if you're trying to change the pose or do anything with them. It's just not a great joint. It's really one of my only major gripes with the kit. But other than the hands falling off the arms quite often, I really think that they're pretty decent hands. So here's what the Sazabi has to offer in terms of an ab crunch. Really nothing impressive there. Alright, now that we've looked at about everything else, let's move on to the legs, and here's where things get a little bit questionable. So here's a nice full view of the Sazabi's leg, and what do we see right off the bat? What's here to support the leg? It's a polycap. Gross. And on top of that, his hip joints are basically a joke as far as being compared to the real grade Sazabi, and if you're looking for this guy to be able to do the splits, well, good luck with that. The rest of the leg's articulation is fine. Basically, you can see the full bend at the knee right here. The foot has a bit of a side to side and a forward and back, and also we can see there's a toe curl and a heel curl as well. The biggest problem I have with the legs is I wanted to do my Sazabi in an aerial pose, but out of the box the polycap joint is simply not strong enough to be able to support the weight of the leg, which is really unfortunate. I mean, you know, I'm not even shaking it here, and just watch what happens when you leave it in place for just a second. This is not sped up. This happens right away. Now, technically speaking, could you tighten up the leg joint? Yes, you could tighten up the leg joint with your own modifications, but this is an out-of-box review, and this is how the Sazabi comes out of the box, or at least this is how mine came. Anyways, let's move on now to the gimmicks, and yeah, there are quite a few of them. This kit is really packed to the brim with gimmicks. There are quite a few of them, so if I forget any or leave any out, that's a mistake on my part. Sorry, there's a lot to go over, so I might miss a few, but I will do my best to cover them all. So the Master Grade Sazabi Ver is actually built and designed to take the standard Bandai LED unit. If you remove the head area and upper neck area here, you can see that there is a crevice in there that allows you to place an LED unit. Now, when I was filming this video, I actually got one of these LED units in the mail, but they didn't include a screw. So I have the batteries, I have the LED unit, but I have no way to close the circuits. So sadly, I can't showcase it right now. So this kit actually features a kind of slight transformation. They're more of what I would call hatch open gimmicks across the suit. It's a bit difficult for me to do it on camera, so I'm just going to do the transformation off camera, go over each individual moving part, and then we'll do a side-by-side comparison. So here's the Sazabi with all of his hatches open, bit of a 360-degree view for you guys so you can see it from all the angles. Now personally, this is probably the way I'm going to display him. I think he's a lot more striking with the hatches open. It just looks a lot cooler. There's a lot more detail going on, and it would really kind of be a shame to not have all of those inner details exposed in my personal opinion. So now that we've seen a 360-degree overview, let's get a little bit more in-depth and look at the individual gimmicks for this suit. So first up we have the upper shoulder. Now the top part slides up and towards the head, and the main part slides out. And I found that when trying to transform this, the main part does like to pop off a lot because of the flimsy connection, but it's really not that hard to put back on, so it's not that big of a deal, just a bit frustrating sometimes. Moving along down to the thrusters between the arm and the shoulder, these two parts separate and the thrusters inside rotate downward. There are two little pieces on each arm that pop out and separate slightly, but I actually forgot to do these. You can see right here under the pointed area of the chest, this bottom panel slides down. Very subtle difference, but it is still a moving part and part of the transformation. Moving on to the front skirting. The outer edges of both parts of the front skirting separate and pull out to the side, revealing some inner detail. The side skirting separates and pulls down a little bit. I found these kind of a pain in the butt to transform just because they like to fall off the waist quite a bit. The joint is kind of flimsy. The rear skirting's transformation is probably my favorite. I think the engineering in it is just pretty cool to watch slide out. It's a very stable gimmick. It doesn't really feel like I'm going to break anything when I pull it out, and it's just very satisfying to do. The funnel pods open, separate, and slide upwards slightly. Moving down to the feet, the top part of the ankle pulls down and can separate, revealing a thruster, and the large panels on either side of the ankle can separate, pull out, and move upwards. There's also a little bit that separates on the back of the feet towards the heel, but those don't really move much at all. Now there's one more hatch open gimmick, and that's the one on the top of the head. Now, the top of the head is comprised of 3 different parts, and it's sitting on a joint that's supposed to be able to slide forward and slip up and push back. However, every single time that I tried to do this, the connection between the parts was much weaker than the strength of the joint itself, so every time the top of the head ended up falling apart. The only way I could see to fix this would be to sand down some parts to make certain areas looser, and probably, from what I've heard from others, to cement certain parts together. But this is an out-of-box review. Again, this is how it came out of the box. I'm not going to be doing any of those for the sake of this video, but if you want to remedy that problem yourself, that would be what I would recommend to do to fix this. Alright, so now that we've taken a look at basically everything the Sazabi has to offer us, I'd like to get into my final thoughts on the kit. Overall, the build was pretty enjoyable. That's something I didn't really talk about earlier in the video, but yeah, I did have a pretty good time building this. I had to spread it out over a week just because of how much I work, and at the times that I do work, it really leaves me with barely any time to work on model kits. I really didn't struggle or have many difficulties with anything during the build. There were a couple questionable nub placements here and there, but I mean, no kit is really perfect when it comes to stuff like that. Overall, as I said earlier, the aesthetics are truly on point. The shelf presence is awesome. It really just looks like a beast. In all honesty, the only really big gripes that I have with this kit are the lack of articulation, the kind of weak wrist joints, the fact that they use polycaps for the waist joints can't really support the leg's own weight. Of course that can be fixed, but again, we're just talking about things as they come straight out of the box. Aside from a few parts like the side skirting popping off here and there, it's really a great kit overall, and I would definitely recommend it to somebody who's a bit of an experienced gunpla builder and someone who has a decent amount of time on their hands to dedicate to putting the kit together. I mean, it took me a week just to snap stuff together working full time, and I haven't even put the decals on yet, so that's going to take me even longer. better. My final verdict on the kit is I really like it. I think it's a great kit. It has a few drawbacks, but then again, no kit is perfect. And on top of that, this kit is like 7 years old. I think it came out in 2013, so I can excuse it for a few things. If you're a fan of the Sazabi, if you're a fan of large mobile suits, and if you want something that's going to keep you occupied for a while, definitely pick up this kit. I got mine for about $90 USD, which for the amount of plastic that it comes with being only $10 more than my 00 Quanta Full Saber, I think that's a hell of a bargain. So if you want something big and bulky that's going to steal the show on your shelf, and if you can look over a few articulation problems, then definitely pick this kit up. Alright everyone, that's going to wrap up my review on the Master Grade Sazabi Ver. Again, really sorry it took way longer for me to produce this video than expected. I had to go through a bunch of trial and error between working a bunch and running into technical difficulties thanks once again to iPhone. The audio on all of my video clips actually got corrupted, so all of this has been completely dubbed over, which is why it's been taking so long. I'm planning on investing in a video camera that can shoot 1080p 60 FPS just like my phone can, so that way I can get the same amount of quality and not really have to deal with any of the technical difficulties that Apple has been sending my way constantly. On top of that, I'm going to try to create a more streamlined format for my reviews so I can get them out a bit quicker. I'm not trying to do quantity over quality, but I don't want the videos to have to take 3 weeks between each of them. It's really just another thing that I'm going to have to work through and get better at. So anyways, as always, thank you so much for watching the video. Criticism and comments are always welcome. They're the best way, in my opinion, for me to grow as a content creator, is to get feedback directly from others. So if you notice anything that you think I should have put in or anything I should have left out, leave a comment down below and I will definitely take that into consideration for future videos to increase the quality. So anyways, thanks again for watching. Subscribe if you're new. If you liked the content, make sure to hit the notification bell so you can see whenever I post a new video. And as always, until next time, keep your eyes to the skies. This is YouSeeGundam, signing off.